We're back. We have no idea what happened. Goes to Herman Cain, as we always like to say, because it happens at least 1, 2, 3 times an episode. We thought we were safe this week because I'm on the road, as you can see behind me, in Miami. So let's start this again. We'll bring Rich in. We'll bring Eddie in. All right, guys. Where were we?
Well, here we go. Trumps are preparing to move out of the White House.
Man, my audio is all shot out still.
So let me finish my point real quick. So the judge wrote an opinion in August giving the government 3 months to further investigate and unseal this memo that indicated this pardons for bribes for pardon scheme, as well as a second secret lobbying scheme in which 2 people would lobby senior White House officials without registering as lobbyists under the Lobbying Disclosure Act. Now, the interesting thing about this unsealing of this memo is that it came out on November 25th. Now, remember what happened on November 25th? Mike Flynn got pardoned. Now, what does that tell you? Does that tell you that there's a corrupt intent behind these pardons? So here's the other thing. Justice Sullivan, who was overseeing the case, accepted the pardon and dismissed the case. However, she's also the Flynn case, I should say. She's also still accepting friend of the court briefs on whether or not these pardons are legal after the dismissal, which is really interesting. The other interesting thing is that the Department of Justice wrote the dismissal on the 1001 charge. Now, we know Mike Flynn was involved in all sorts of craziness that was not charged because he was quote unquote cooperating. The fact that he never cooperated and never did cooperate, and he backed out of his cooperation and is now insisting he's innocent, leaves him open to be charged under all of this other behavior, and he has now lost his Fifth Amendment protection because he accepted the pardon. So he actually, by accepting the pardon, he's put himself in a much more legally dicey situation, considering that now people are going to look at this pardon and say, hey, it sounds like maybe Donald Trump and Mike Flynn were up to something corrupt together based on this other corrupt pardon scheme that we're seeing. I wonder what that could be. And it's interesting that people are confused about what Mike Flynn was actually up to. Let me tell you exactly what Mike Flynn was up to. The Russian government, the Russian military intelligence services, okay, not, some random dude, right? The Russian government, the Russian military intelligence services were waging full-scale warfare on the American public in 2016, and they continue to do so because that's what they do. What's interesting about that is that Paul Manafort was coordinating with Russian oligarchs to make sure that the reflections of that the Trump campaign was putting out messaging that was similar to what was being released by the Russian government. Okay, so when the DNC got hacked and people were saying, well, crooked Hillary, the Trump campaign was also reflecting that message back to the American people. Now, what's interesting is, who is Mike Flynn? Mike Flynn was a former director of the DIA, but more importantly, he was going around talking about information warfare after he left the DIA and how he was commanding an army of digital soldiers and all of this. And so when we talk about why did Mike Flynn get pardoned, Mike Flynn got pardoned. Mike Flynn got in trouble not because of lying to the FBI. People lie to the FBI all the time. It's considered a good fun where I come from. The reason why Mike Flynn is so important, actually probably more important than Paul Manafort, to this whole what happened in 2016, is because Mike Flynn was we know what happened. The DNC got hacked, and we know that we know how it happened.
Yes.
And we know that Paul Manafort and a bunch of people got busted for it. Actually, what's missing from this puzzle is that Mike Flynn, talking about, oh, we're digital warfare. Mike Flynn was the implementation of the domestic side of the digital warfare that was launched on 2016 in coordination with the Russian government through the Trump campaign. So when we talk about like, well, their messaging seemed similar, like, no, they were literally and figuratively launching coordinated information warfare operations against the United States people in 2016, together with the Russian government. Mike Flynn is the what and how and the missing cog in all of this. So that's why Mike Flynn got pardoned, not for lying to the FBI. And the reason why he's so important to Trump is that he implemented the social media policies and tactics that they used to win the election. So that's why he is so important, and that's why he got named Secretary, the National Security Advisor. And the FBI was well aware of this. That's why they went to talk to him, not because of, well, the Russian ambassador. The Russian ambassador conversation was basically a, whatever you need, we'll thank you. Whatever you need, we're here for you. And as the national security advisor of the American government, that's kind of a bad position to be taking. So that's why the FBI was so willing to go out of their way to quote unquote get him jammed up and frame him as the Republicans claim, because they did not want somebody who has been spending the last year coordinating information warfare with the Russian government to be the national security advisor. So all of this ties back to the fact that now Donald Trump wants to pardon everybody. And I want him to. I want him to turn around and try to pardon his entire family. And why would that be, Rich?
Well,
why would I want Donald Trump to pardon his entire family?
Well, you would want that because it would make him look guilty. I think you would even sort of have to admit that he committed a crime to pardon himself. Mm-hmm. But here's what else I've heard, that he might not just stop at his family. He might do a laundry list of pardons and say, it's all political. They're coming after us. I'm protecting everybody, and hand out like 50 fucking pardons at once. He said
he would pardon everyone he's ever talked to. So that's pretty gangster. So here's the problem with doing that. There's literally nothing in the Constitution, unless I missed that provision in political science class, that says that the law, equal application of the law, is to all American citizens except for the Trump family. By elevating his family to unprotected federal status, he is not just putting himself above the Constitution, right? But he's putting himself in the Constitution in such a brazen, ugly, undemocratic way that there's no way that would be constitutionally sound. But the other side of it is, accept the pardon, right? Accept the guilt. You are, again, removing your Fifth Amendment privileges, but also if any underlying state investigations that are being conducted, for example, into your taxes, in New York Attorney General, hint, hint, you are admitting criminality. You've admitted the criminality of the underlying conduct. So if you're not paying your federal taxes and you accept a pardon for not paying your federal taxes, and you also haven't been paying your state taxes, game over.
The other aspect too is that legal scholars are not sure that he can actually pardon himself. That's very, very disputable, and he might have to try to do the Pence thing. But then it's like, dude, is Mike Pence really going to become president?
That's something that's never even been done before. So we don't even know.
It's been done before.
Has it? A president resigned?
Pardoned himself. Got himself pardoned.
Yeah.
But the problem is that would require Trump to step down from power too.
It would.
Yeah, I don't think.
A problem.
And so if he does that, then his concern is, Donald Trump is very much a kick the can down the road person, and so for him to turn around and kick the can up or down the road, however you want to say it, and open himself to potential criminal liability earlier than January 21st, I think is unlikely.
Yeah,
That's the other part of it.
but he has to. I mean, he has to do the pardon before then, so it'd be too late at that point. Yeah. He would never get it. He's got to find a way to pardon himself. There's no way he's going to allow. He's not going to take the bullet for his whole family and all his associates, bro. Come on, this is Donald Trump. Like he'll save himself way before he saves anybody else.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, and I don't think it's going to work for him. And all this is just federal, like you said. The fucking SDNY is. I think they're licking their chops, waiting for fucking Biden to get sworn in.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to that. We'll just have to kind of see how it unfolds. It's going to be interesting.
So who do you think Biden is going to pick for Attorney General?
I'll tell you this. What I've been hearing all day is that the odds-on favorite is Doug Jones, and I don't care for it. They're fine. He's fought for civil rights. He's experienced. Biden wants people he trusts. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in that regard, but I can't believe that Doug Jones, the outgoing senator of Alabama, is the best choice. I have a hard time swallowing that. Better than Sally Yates and who was the other person? There was another one in the top three. I forget, but I like them both better than Doug Jones.
His latest pick or his latest his Secretary of Defense.
That's an interesting deal.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Eddie?
I don't like it. I don't like that. I didn't like it when they got a congressional waiver in 2000. What is it? 2017.
16 for Mid.
Yeah, for Mattis.
Mattis.
Yeah, and I don't like it now. The military should never be under military control. It should always be under civilian control. And so this is like when I talk about like arguing with liberals and stuff, like this is not okay. It's just straight up not. And I like Mattis a lot, and I think he was a very good. I wouldn't say American patriot because I always want to throw up when I hear those words, especially coming out of my own mouth. But I think that he did his job. If in the military, he worked his ass off,
especially out of my own mouth.
And I would not agree with non-civilian control of the military ever. I think Doug Jones would be fine. My question isn't like, oh, how liberal they are. How much rope is Joe Biden going to give them? My personal opinion, we need a cabinet level department that is focused on corruption and only corruption.
Yeah. Okay.
Give them full access to the IRS, agents. Give them the best IRS agents. Give them the people who work at FinCEN. Get them rolled in. Get people to work on changing the laws with Congress. But more importantly, I think we need a full Trump Crimes Commission. I mean, we got to get to the bottom of this. There's so many unanswered questions.
That's not going to happen.
There's so many unanswered questions and shit, but where would you even begin to start? Because you got to, I mean, at a state level, New York is just counting down.
Yeah. Dude, there's no way Joe Biden's going to make his presidency about fucking indicting and trying Donald Trump. Because it will be the Donald Trump show for 4 more years. You would give him so much oxygen by doing that federally. Even the state would be a big deal, but at least the administration could wash their hands of it because it's not really on them if it's the state.
Oh man, but they've committed so many crimes, dude. Like, did you see the story about the fact that the people who were building the wall in Texas were smuggling armed Mexican guards into America so they could guard the fence while they built it?
No.
That's not that. Like, that's so illegal. That's literally human smuggling.
Yeah.
I'm told by the QAnon people that human smuggling is wrong.
But before we get too far off the topic, off the Secretary of Defense, I feel like there's some factoids I should throw out there because we didn't even say the man's name yet. and his name is Lloyd Austin. He's a retired Army general. There's a statute that Eddie was referring to that you're supposed to be a civilian, and that means at least retired from the military for, it was either 5 or 7 years, and he hasn't met that requirement. So what you have to do is go to Congress. It's 5 or 7, but
okay.
What you have to do to get around that is get a waiver from Congress, and Mattis just did that, and it's pretty rare for them to do this. So to do it twice in a row, people are having beef with, like Eddie just did. And there is a lot of Democrats that aren't thrilled with it. He would be the first black Secretary of Defense, which I think is pretty cool. I'm inclined to kind of go the other way and give Biden the benefit of the doubt on this one. I understand the theory of, the military ruling the military, but I've got more confidence in some of these dudes than to be like the worst machination of people's minds, like diehard war hawks, eat up all the money, black ops, crazy shit. Like, if Biden says this dude is a good dude, they've got experience, they go back together, his credentials were outstanding, I'm inclined to not really make a beef about it. Unless dude starts doing some dumb shit, then I will jump down his throat. But I'll give him at least the benefit of the doubt in the beginning. See how he acts and what he does. Because generally, at least from my perception, a lot of higher ranking military guys are some of the higher quality people in our country. Maybe not pieces of shit like Mike Flynn, but I don't think he was the standard. I think he was more the exception than the rule. So that's really my opinion on it. I'm content to let it ride and wait and see.
Yeah, I figure he was picked for a reason, so it could have been worse. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I kind of do like the idea of somebody who knows how to, somebody who knows, been in that life, that knows, how to properly run shit.
Right. This dude was like, I wish I had his credentials in front of me, but he's been like, I think he was like the vice chief of staff for the fucking joint forces. Like, this dude's been in the room for in other jobs. He's the experience.
You want somebody with experience, and that's why you don't want the Secretary of Defense to be like some former corporate chairman. That's you want somebody that understands consequences of your actions in the line of battle and shit like that. So.
Right. And conversely, I understand why you wouldn't want the military just to be running free and wild, because we've seen in other countries what can happen, when you let the military just kind of do whatever the fuck with no oversight. But
look at look what happened with all the shit in Texas. What was it with Fort Bragg? There was a bunch of people that were just like let go from their positions due to because their lack of supervision created an environment where sexual assault and shit like that could happen.
Dude, they lost 25 soldiers.
Yeah,
bro. No, the administration there was just way out of either totally inept or way out of control, and they're definitely implementing changes. And
I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah, they said they were going to fire some people, reassign some others. Some people might get indicted for that shit. I don't know. That shit's wild. Yeah.
So when we talk about people who are completely unqualified, Mayor Pete for ambassador of China, they're going to eat his ass alive. It's a terrible idea. Terrible idea.
I haven't heard that. Is that a for sure thing, or is that just something
speculation?
Yeah, I don't know if I care for
that. I don't agree with that at all.
I don't know how you go from South Bend
send him to somewhere easy. Send him to Spain or something like that. He speaks Spanish.
China.
China.
Yes.
China.
Why? China.
It's garbage. So that's interesting. I definitely don't know what the current stance is on the Rahm Emanuel pick for transportation secretary.
I heard he's way out.
Okay.
I heard that today. Yeah, no, he's way out for the Laquan McDonald shit, for hiding the tape.
Yep.
Is what they said. He's eating that now. Yeah. Which I'm totally fine with. I'm fine with that. I don't think Chicago would have been very thrilled if Rahm Emanuel would have ended up with a cabinet position.
Yeah, it's
Why does Rahm Emanuel even want to be in the cabinet? Like, he got $1 billion.
Maybe he's bored. I don't know.
He probably is.
Yeah, and maybe his wife nags too much.
Probably that too, and he's probably seeing another way where he can make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
On the low.
You guys want to talk about the Senate debates a little bit? Did either of you guys watch the debates? I did.
No, I did not.
I did not. I know you did.
All right, look, I'll give you the summation. Kelly Loeffler is an empty fucking suit. She just went up there spitting Republican garbage. I don't just scare tactics. If you look at my name, it's radical liberal Rich Herman. That's because she called Raphael Warnock radical liberal.
Radical Rich. Liberal. That's your new name, Radical Rich.
She said radical liberal Raphael Warnock at least 20 times in an hour. Every time she addressed him, she called him radical liberal. And she just, was like socialist, blah, blah, blah. She didn't run on anything she had accomplished because she didn't accomplish anything. She sounded very robotic. I thought Warnock had a much better debate than her. But I worry because those Republican scare lines, like she was like repeating herself over and over again, and somehow, even though they sounded so rehearsed and lame and inauthentic, and she doesn't actually answer the questions, but people fall for it. But I thought Warnock had a better story. I thought he had better positions. He did have some things to answer for that they hung around his neck, but none of it really was that big of a concern to me. And then the second debate was even more hilarious because John Ossoff debated against himself because David Perdue refused to show up. So it was really it was like a one-man debate, and they were just asking him questions, and he was answering them.
Hey, at least he didn't have to worry about anybody interrupting him. He get his full thoughts out.
Yeah. I saw some polling on 538. Yes, it's polling. I get it. But it says Ossoff and Perdue are in a dead heat almost. It's Ossoff by like 0.4%. And then Warnock is beating Loeffler by I think like 2%. They're both very close races.
Well, I read something that said that 70,000 people who did not register or who did not vote in the 2020 election actually requested ballots for the runoffs. Now, I don't know, man. I would want to assume that that's a benefit to the Democrats, but the way polling in general has been, the way the amount of power that the Republicans have in Georgia is, I don't know, makes me worried. Although I do kind of enjoy watching the GOP turn on themselves. That has been great to watch.
This has been crazy. And then there's did you guys see this Lynn Wood who had a Trump rally? This guy donated to Obama 2 different times, and he was out there for Trump, going crazy, like telling him, "Don't vote. The vote is rigged. Don't vote. It's rigged." And you get this Republican message,
do it.
Like they're suppressing their own vote.
Yep.
That's what the fuck?
It's they're shooting themselves in the foot, and the problem is I'm not going to stop them. I'm not going to take the guns out of their hands. The interesting thing about that is that they're not just turning on each other. Like, first of all, Jenna Ellis, who's Trump's lawyer, in 2016 was talking about how Donald Trump is crazy and all this stuff. Like I said, they're sickos, and they'll do anything for power and money. They don't actually have any beliefs. Now, what I want to talk about is that people are like, well, these lawsuits are garbage. They're garbage. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. They have no interest in fighting non-meritorious lawsuits. Look, these lawsuits, they're not worth the paper they're printed on, literally, right? They're filing them in the wrong districts. They're filing them blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump has raised $400 million since the election for his fight, his legal fight. And he gets to keep 75% of that money. So, we talk about Donald Trump's broke, blah, blah, blah. He could pay back all the money he owes to all these people we have no insight into just based off this legal strategy. So they don't have to file a lawsuit that's worth anything. For them, it's actually a benefit that they're not putting any time or thought into this.
As long as the money keeps coming.
The problem with that is that this is the exact same scheme that Steve Bannon was operating when he got indicted for fraud. So if you're raising money with no intention of actually spending it on that's just very much fraud. We'll see what happens with that. But I think that people are missing the forest for the trees when they say, well, these lawsuits are garbage. They're meant to be garbage. It's not meant to. They're not meant for federal judges to see and approve of and enjoy. Trump has been running on this idea of the deep state is against me, and now the judges are against him too. And whether or not he appointed them is irrelevant.
That's poetic justice. That's poetic justice.
It is, but at the same time, it feeds the narrative that they want his loser fan base, because he's a loser, not because I'm calling them losers, because he lost. His loser fan base needs a different narrative. See, that's what happens when you get into a cult, right? You get into a cult, like, for example, Heaven's Gate. They thought that the what do you call it? The Bob Haley comet, whatever it was called, the Haley Bob comet that came back in '92. They thought it was being trailed by a giant spaceship, and that the spaceship was going to come and bring them home.
Yes.
And then it didn't happen.
They all wore Nikes and shit.
And it didn't happen. So now they need a new narrative, which is, well, we have to ascend ourselves to the next level to get to that next level.
Are you saying that all Trump supporters are going to start drinking spiked Kool-Aid?
Yeah, no, that was Jim Jones.
Hey, they've already been drinking that shit, bro.
Yeah, they were drinking that shit when they're. They were probably drinking. Their parents were drinking that stuff.
They got to be drinking something, because this is what they've been worshiping for the last 5 years and a half years. He's not retired until Joe Biden's inauguration.
Damn it.
And then we still get to look at this motherfucker.
Yeah. Fuck that gobbleneck son of a bitch.
So I think that, like, when people say, like, oh, this is a garbage lawsuit. Yes, it is a garbage lawsuit. That's the point. Well, it's the point to be putting out garbage.
Yeah.
I do think that if they had real lawsuits, they would put them forward, but they just don't have any. So they're just throwing out the bullshit just to be doing something, to say they're doing something.
They want to make it look to the cult base that something's actually a foul. Right.
So all 50 states are certified now.
Liberal rich? Yep. Question marks from Brandon Thomas.
Yeah, man, the liberal, radical liberal.
Somebody said on Twitter that Joe Biden should ask for a recount in Alaska just to fuck with Trump.
So what? Monday.
Get this shit over with.
Monday, the Electoral College has to report to Congress. I believe
certify.
It is.
Yes. Yep.
To certify, and it's pretty official after that. I don't know. I don't even know. We've already passed the Safe Harbor Day was yesterday. I don't even know how you go back from here, but you definitely, once Monday hits, I think it's a wrap.
You don't. I mean, that's why a lot of his aides, inside sources have said some of his aides believe that he will not return to the White House after the holiday season.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
I called it.
So did Michael Cohen, actually.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Then you got him saying that they're still got bombshells to drop.
So how long?
Not that I expect that to actually happen, but
so do you think Trump steeps into a deep depression for a second or two after the inauguration?
I think.
Or you think he's in that now, and if he does not return to the White House after the holiday season, that he's trying to work his way out of it, so after inauguration he could rile up the The cult.
I think that he was very depressed the first 2 weeks following the election. That's why no one saw him. And I think that 75% that's going to of the donations that's going to the post-presidency PAC, he's just going to probably start campaigning. He's probably just going to keep doing rallies, bro. And then they're going to fund it. They're going to fund it all. The jet fuel, that's fucking stadiums, that's fucking assistance and fucking promotion, email blasts. That's what all that money is going to be. And then whatever, his McDonald's and suits.
Maybe he'll run for governor of Florida, and this could be just his own little dominion until he dies.
I don't think he's going to make it to 2024, man. I don't know if it's indictment or the cheeseburgers are going to catch him or he's just going to get old and wear out. I just, that's a long 4 years for a guy in his 70s, man.
Yeah. It's 74, not in great shape. He looks like a fucking shit emoji.
But he has to keep his stronghold on the party, so he's got to make it.
Yeah,
look
he
like
has to.
He's
he
coming
has
back.
to.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. He's going to do with all this super PAC money that he's accumulating. He's just going to keep the donations flowing to the people that he wants to get into office. That's going to get behind him for him to run again in 2024.
Yeah, I've had this conversation multiple times. Like, I donated a bunch of money to Joe Biden. I'm not gonna lie, it was probably like $700, right, between all the races.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, Trump fans are Trump fans, and they're gonna keep giving him money. How much money can they give him between now and in 2024, and can they afford to give him between now and 2024, right? And then still turn around and fund another super expensive presidential race? I don't think that
because you got to think the majority of his base are fucking poor people.
I don't know, man. He's raised a lot of money.
Yeah, they're giving them everything.
Don't forget all those corporations are feeding him because of his tax cuts.
Yes, that's also
true. I just think that like people are like, well, he's going to be this crazy person for the next 4 years, and yet he's going to be, but. When you're not the president anymore, even as an ex-president, like, yeah, you get a lot of attention, but when you're not the president anymore, the spotlight fades.
Yeah.
People stop caring.
I hope it does.
And if Trump ends up winning because he pulls some bullshit, we got to have a 6-minute solo by Rich the Rapper live in Mokina.
So I think that, like,
at least we know that's not going to happen.
Do a show, bro. I'll come do a show at Little Al's.
I think that, like, the election's over, and now we just have to get to the inauguration. And people get worked up because a race is happening, not because Joe Biden's policy position in February 2014 on trade relations between America and Venezuela have shifted slightly to allow soybeans and stuff to be sent to Venezuela. But, like, people don't care about that shit. People care about the elections, and the election is going to happen in 4 years. So for Trump to think that he can hold on to when he was having these big rallies, let's say 15,000 people.
America has ADD, so like,
exactly.
They're ready to move on to the next.
How many people came to Tulsa, Oklahoma? Tulsa Trump rally.
Is that where Herman Cain got the runner to kill him?
Yep, just attendance.
Nothing good's ever happened in Tulsa.
No.
6,200 people in 2020, when in the middle of a presidential election. So how many people are going to show up? And not that he's ever going to go back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, but how many people are going to show up in 2022 to a Trump rally to hear him rant about how unfair it is and to give him more money and all this shit? How many? 3,000? 2,500? Like, yes.
It's just hard to predict with Trump, man, because
it is.
I've never seen.
There's still people. There's still
70 million bro.
Trumpers that are vilifying Hillary.
Votes. I don't know. I don't even know if they're going to take this election, bro. There's still talk of like these armed militias.
Oh yeah,
and they're convinced that Trump was robbed of the election. Like, we'll see what happens January 20th, bro. When this shit goes super official.
It's definitely the plan to burn everything down to the ground and stir up civil warfare as much as possible.
Well, and that sort of actually plays into another thing I wanted to address today, which is a lot of this rhetoric that's been going on from the right, man. And it's really like, I feel like every week I take a second to like go through some of this stuff and warn these motherfuckers like how close they're stepping to the line, bro. Like, and they really are.
They don't realize it.
The Arizona, I mean, dude, listen, the Arizona Republican Party's Twitter, bro, retweeted an alt-right dude or a far-right dude that said, "I'm willing to die for this fight." They said, "He is, are you?" is what they said on top of that. And there was a picture of Rambo fucking with an arrow to a guy's face.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing here? Like, are we being civil? Are we letting the legal system work, or are we just gonna do whatever? Because it really sounds like it's do whatever time, dude. The Michigan Secretary of State was hanging Christmas decorations with her 4-year-old son, and her house got bum rushed by fucking armed protesters.
Yep. There's Pennsylvania Republican legislators have said that they don't agree with this stuff that Trump is doing, but they can't. What do you call it? They can't They can't say that they're not with him because if they did, or that they can't agree that the lawsuits are BS and the claims are BS. Because one of them said, if I did that, by the time I got home, there would be a bomb in my living room. It's not democracy.
However, you know, now's a good time to point out that Pat Toomey, the senator of Pennsylvania, stood up to fucking Trump. And I can't pull up the quote right now because it's on my phone and I'm on my phone. But he came out and had some real strong words, like, dude, that say basically he lost and it's time to stop fucking with the Pennsylvania legislature. Is essentially what he said. So props to Pat Toomey for being a stand-up Republican who's not retiring, who finally said enough's enough. But with everybody else, virtually, Eddie, you're dead on.
Yeah, they're cowards. I mean, the GOP, they're cowards. Actually, Robert, you can pull this up. I want to shout out to an American hero, Aaron Van Langevelde.
What the fuck was?
Say it again.
Aaron Van Langevelde.
Hold on.
And who is he?
There's an article that came out in Political. When was this? November 24th. No, that's not him. You can scroll up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Hold on.
That's the other Aaron Van Belder Giggy.
Yeah, so Aaron is a lawyer for the Michigan GOP who was basically being pressured and forced by the Board of Commissioners that he serves under to not certify the results in Michigan.
It's a long ass article.
Yep, people were blowing him up like crazy. I mean, the only thing I can think of akin to this situation that he was probably going through was when Steve Bartman did what he did in 2004, and the Cubs fans. When I say Cubs fans, literally forced him to leave the country. My coworker grew up like around the corner from the Bartman family, and people were blowing his phone up, talking about, "Hey, have you talked to Steve today? Like, we're looking for Steve. Like, nothing's going to happen to him. We just want to talk to him." Like, they forced him to flee the country. He literally had to move to London, to England for a few years because of what had happened. And so
crazy.
The same thing was happening to Aaron, where he was getting blown up. He had to take his phone off the hook. And he stood up for what was right and certified the elections because Trump lost. It's not about right or wrong. It's about what democracy is, and it's about the fact that he lost the election, and their job is to certify the election. Whether or not you're also a lawyer, and you've also taken an oath to the Constitution, not to Trump.
Bro, there's some good stand-up people in this.
Here's Miranda says it's February of 2021. Biden takes the presidency. Will you guys be talking about Trump or Biden moving this country forward? Serious question. We'll be talking about whatever presents itself to us. It'll be on a current administration, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of Trump news to report, as all types of other political news across the spectrum.
Dude, if Donald Trump would concede, we wouldn't even be talking about him right now. He's got the country in a headlock until Joe Biden is sworn in. But then we have full intention on holding Joe Biden's feet to the fire and getting back to these real issues. In fact, there's still some real issues I want to get to tonight, but there's just so much right now with this. I mean, dude, I really feel like we're on the doorstep of a civil war. As crazy as it, like, at least so far, it's not action; it's just words. But some of this rhetoric, dude, there was a COVID meeting in Idaho. They had to disband because the protesters outside got so aggressive. They had to disband the meeting and flee the building.
I disagree. I disagree with your premise completely, Rich. We've been in the Civil War. You know, I'm starting to think that regardless of what had happened in 2016, he would not have conceded if he had lost to Hillary. Sneaking suspicion. People have died already. People have died. I mean, look at Heather Heyer in
that was in Virginia, or where the
God damn it! Rest in peace to her. Not Williamsburg. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about.
It was the good people on both sides.
Yeah, Charlottesville, Virginia, which is right down from right down the couple hundred miles from DC. So you know this guy, I forget his name, Sayek or whatever, the guy who's mailing pipe bombs to people. Like, look at the Kyle, the kid that Kyle Rittenhouse killed in Wisconsin. The kid, in my opinion, is a hero. I'm putting him down for Skater of the Year, which is a huge honor in the skateboarding community. I mean, this guy went after a violent, armed white supremacist who had already shot multiple people with a skateboard and got killed over it. I mean, the video was disgusting, and I only watched it once because I don't think it does me any good to watch it multiple times. But people have already died. People have died.
I mean, that's true. I do feel like when these situations have occurred, we've kind of pulled back from the ledge a little bit. But, I mean, there's bodies on the board, bro, and the temperature is still rising. We haven't blown up to total open warfare yet, but it's come close a couple times, like you said. And, I mean, it could still be just on the horizon. I would like to see everybody cool out, but until the other side faces reality, which is Donald Trump got outvoted, bro. Like, yes, 70 million people loved him, but 80 didn't. 81 didn't.
Yep.
You know, like I heard Hannity, a clip from Hannity earlier, and he's just like, oh, he got 15 more million votes than Barack Obama. How could that be? That sounds suspicious. Well, yes, it does sound suspicious, but nobody voted for Joe Biden. We voted against Donald Trump.
And I mentioned it over and over again. There are more people in America now.
Yeah.
It's just a bigger population. So to say, well, I got 3 million more votes than Obama. Okay, so what?
Right.
More people not only is there more people in America, there's more Americans that are of age to vote. So, but it's
that's like
how that works.
I was telling people months before the election, even if you're a white person that hangs out with mostly other white people, you're going to be convinced that Donald Trump's going to win in a landslide. You'll be totally sold on that. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of the country that ain't you, but they don't know that. They don't get outside of their bubble. Mm-hmm. So all they see is all this Trump shit, and then Trump loses. They're like, how? Everybody loves Trump. No, just everybody you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
and it's the same thing on the left. We can't. It's not just like the media culture, right, or like the politicization of everything, like the endless culture wars. Like Facebook and Instagram and all these tech companies have made money off putting people in bubbles and driving them to not talk to each other. And so we have to sit back and be like, look, I as much as I might not want it, like I think some Mitch McConnell fan needs to come down my Twitter or my Facebook timeline from time to time to remind me that there are other real people in the world that don't believe what I believe.
Right. I agree with you so far. In 2024, when there are two new candidates for the presidency, will our voting system hold up, or will it be the same bullshit over and over again about voter fraud? How as a country do we fix this? Well, we've never experienced this in an election where there's so much all these accusations of baseless accusations of voter fraud and shit like that.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's hard to believe that it would be worse than this one, but also, like, dude, has an election been scrutinized any harder than this? And it's coming back clean. I understand if you watch Fox News and shit, you got people telling you different, but you know what? Like the same way that you Republicans look at CNN and MSNBC, we look at Fox News, and the truth, none of them are all that honest. What's honest is the courts, because you can't lie in a court. You'll go to fucking jail or you'll get disbarred. And what's happening in court is Trump's getting his ass handed to him, and he's got nothing but some Hail Marys left that ain't going to work. He thought the Supreme Court was going to save him, and they're not.
Yeah.
And that's just
man. Hold on. Speaking of which, a federal judge has just dismissed Sidney Powell's election challenge in Arizona. Bye-bye.
1 for 52.
The judge rejected the case, saying she had no standing to sue. The claim should be in state court. State officials are immune under the 11th Amendment. There were laches, which means unreasonable delays in filing, and moot in that the election is already certified. And Donald Trump personally tweeted, we can find the tweet if you want, that besides the fact that he lost, it was the most secure election in American history. He said that.
Hey, can somebody stop that beeping? Whoever's got that, you guys hear that?
I think that's you. It's not me.
It ain't on my end.
Yeah, hold on. I think it's on mine, but I don't know where it's coming from. Hold on. Let me investigate. I'll investigate, guys.
Yeah, just hit mute.
There you go.
So the interesting thing is that, like, the people who are dedicated to election security all said, worked really hard, and this was a very secure election.
Trump's people,
right? Yeah. So how do I think our voting system will hold up? I think our voting system needs a complete overhaul. Specifically, we need to move to auditable paper ballots. We don't need to do signature matching or anything like that. We need to verify people when they come in, right? And I'm not saying we do that via voting IDs or anything like that. But we need to get away from this whole electronic voting completely. It's garbage. This whole blockchain, no, get that out of here. And I think that we need to make voting a federal holiday, but we also need to invest in large-scale investment in voting infrastructure. And by that, I mean, most of the people who do elections, they're volunteers. They don't get paid for this, or if they do get paid, they get paid very little. And there's a chronic underfunding of voting systems on a national and a state level and a local and county level, where people only think about voting every 4 years, when in reality, it's a process that needs to be worked on and maintained over those 4 years.
And people midterms.
Midterms, and people only want to say let's talk about voting when it's time to vote, and that's not a way to. It's like field management, right? Like, Greg Popovich had this brilliant idea that you don't wait until your star players are hurt to sit them down. You give them proactive rest, and you tend to them proactively so that they can continue to perform at a high level. And we should be doing the same thing with our voting system. We should be running fire drills to simulate people trying to hack the election systems the day after the election, not because the election is in worry or in danger, but when would they? When would somebody hack you? Probably the day after the election when you're not paying attention, right? Right. That's what I would do if I was a hacker.
Yeah, that's what you would think.
And actually, there's a great article in the New York Times about the cybersecurity company FireEye that got hacked by the Russian government very recently. They stole a bunch of their tools.
That sounds like a Marvel fucking character or a James Bond villain. FireEye.
And the reason why they got hacked is because everybody was paying attention to the election. That's where everyone was paying their focus to, and so they weren't tracking these guys, and these guys were busy hacking FireEye. So I think that a large-scale investment in voting, but also we need to have some national standards. And I'm not saying that in the sense of like voter ID or something like that. I'm saying that in the sense of we need to legislate that or maybe not legislate, but we need to say like, these are your standards. We need to have paper ballots. We need to have auditable paper ballots. We need to have this national hotline where if you think somebody's trying to hack into your system, you can call us and we'll forward it to the FBI and we'll coordinate. Yeah. Like there are very concrete steps that the federal government can take while still giving the implementation power and the power to run election systems, leaving that at the state and local level.
I also think that people that really are concerned about the security of this election don't understand the election process and how there's observers in every fucking room and how everything's double and triple checked, and you have these legal recourses. They counted Georgia 3 times.
Yep.
Like Trump's trying to get him to go 4. For what, dude? They counted it 3 times by hand with machines. Dude, like they went through it, and there's been a lot of heroic people, like their Secretary of State Brad Katzenberger, I believe his name is. Man, these guys, and they're Republicans.
Yeah,
dude, I never thought I would feel bad for Georgia's governor. Yeah, I always thought he was a scumbag.
Brian Kemp is a piece of shit. Dude, don't
Trump
get me wrong.
Turned on him. Trump turned on Bill Barr. Eddie, you weren't here last week. We were playing clips of fucking Lou Dobbs calling him a liar and a traitor and all kinds of fuck shit. Yep. Bill Barr, Trump's lapdog.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
The idea that all of these people would be conspiring to turn against Trump is kind of ridiculous in the sense that, like, bro, you hired Bill Barr.
You hired him.
He's done ridiculous things for Donald Trump already.
Yeah. Many things. In particular, the idea that, he was coming out there saying, well, if there's fraud, we got to investigate it. And then the Department of Justice came out there and was like, yeah, there's no fraud. Like,
there's no fucking fraud.
Yeah, there's no fraud, bro. You need to relax.
But Bill Barr is a huge piece of shit, and I hope he gets indicted.
Yeah. I mean, he made his bed for himself, for sure. Yeah. I don't know that he'll end up getting indicted.
Make your bed, you lie.
He's going to go down in my history as the worst AG I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So far, anyways, and probably for a long time.
And I don't know. I don't get what he gets out of this. Like, or somebody like a Lindsey Graham, if he's being blackmailed because he's gay, whatever. Like, I don't care about that. But like,
it's 2020, Lindsey.
It's 2020, bro. Nobody cares. But like
that's the worst fucking blackmailing ever.
I get that though. Like, I get what he gets out of being a Trump lapdog. What does Bill Barr get? What does the Senator Alexander, for example? He's retiring, and he's just like, and he's still like voted to to let Trump off the hook for obstruction of Congress and like all this shit in the Ukraine impeachment stuff. Like, what do you get out of that? Nothing. It costs you nothing.
Yeah.
Just go after January 20th. Gas go back to $3 or $4. Gas are going to go back up because people are going to be outside because there's going to be a vaccine available, and people are going to be traveling again.
And the weather is going to get nicer. That's kind of what happens. Gas prices go down in the fall and the winter, and then they go back up in the spring and the summer.
And you know what? The gas prices at the end of the Obama administration were just about the same as they are now. Maybe even a little bit cheaper. I looked this up a little while back.
It doesn't matter.
They were high, but then he got them down even. But I don't know. That's just a fucking Trump thing.
High gas prices are a good thing in the sense that it's going to push the country to go green even faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when gas prices crashed, it was because OPEC and Russia were having a giant pissing contest. It had nothing to do with the Trump administration's policies on gas.
No, but Trump takes credit for everything.
Of course,
it's like
he did.
The stock market.
Oh, but and that's actually, it also happened in the middle of the pandemic. I remember gas was like $1 because nobody was going outside.
Yeah.
So I think also high gas prices are helpful for companies and countries that rely on gas exports. Countries like Russia, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia. The people who attacked us on 9/11. High tax prices are a bad thing for the American consumer, and they're bad for America as a national security principle. We should be moving toward energy independence, which we did with fracking, which I disagree with, but we did that because Barack Obama assessed that we needed energy independence away from people like Saudi Arabia. And when we're stuck to people like that, then we're stuck in their wars. And we don't want that, in my opinion, right? So in order to get away from that dependence, we need to get away from their gas. So I think that overall, high gas prices are a good thing because people are going to get tired of paying for high gas prices.
Right.
Makes sense.
So there's been some movement on the COVID relief bill that we should probably dig into a little bit. I'm sure that the people need an update. So Mitch and Nancy were negotiating, and they got stuck because the Republicans didn't want to provide any relief funding to local and state governments. And conversely, the Democrats didn't want to provide liability protection for businesses. Mitch suggested that they throw both of those things out and just pass what they agree on, and the Democrats laughed at him. And then last night, Mnuchin came out of left field with another offer that has a $600 check for people, because the Mitch's bill had no check for people, but now Mnuchin's has no additional unemployment money, so it's just a one-time check, and then all these programs are going to
no. It's even worse than that.
He said it's even worse.
Mnuchin wants to basically loot the federal unemployment program for the $600. There would be no federal unemployment. It would be eliminated completely. And all you get out for that is $600.
Oh, wow.
So are you
$500 for couples?
Yep. So you get $1,800, $2,400 total, maybe if you're lucky. And you're severing your entire social safety net program at a federal level for a one-time $600 check.
Well, that explains why they haven't agreed to the bill yet.
Yeah.
So negotiations continue on. It just irks me, bro, because it feels like the Republicans end up always trying to deduct from the people.
Yep.
Yes.
They want to give more to the businesses and less to the people.
Starve the beast.
What'd you say?
Starve the beast.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know.
The market has crashed heavily. If you are not aware, on the stalled bill, the news of the bill stalling. Also, a day after Trump tweeting about how the NASDAQ and the Dow are at an all-time high. Pretty ironic. Usually when Trump tweets about the stock market or the economy, it goes downhill.
Something bad happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't like volatility, man, and that's all he is.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
Like a man walking in gasoline shoes.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see where the COVID relief goes, but so far the struggle continues. I don't know. I hope it gets through quick. I know their goal is to try to get it through before their Christmas recess, which is coming up in like a week. And they fucking better. Or it might be somebody's ass.
They're not going to do anything.
Should be.
I don't think they're going to do anything. They're not going to give a shit. They didn't want to give a shit. They're not going to give a shit. The government just said, "Here's $1,200. Good luck."
So yeah, that's like $4 and some change a day. I think what last time I figured it out, it was like fucking $5.06 a day or some shit like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
Real ridiculous.
So what about this Hunter Biden thing? Anybody got any thoughts?
Lock him up.
Do you know what we're talking about?
Who? Eddie?
Eddie. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hunter Biden apparently has been under investigation from investigators from the Delaware office of the Department of Justice for tax fraud or tax tax issues.
Tax issues, and it's that they just said a little bit ago was something about his business dealings in China.
Yeah. So, for example, he tax affairs. That's the word. For example, he was given a 2.5 carat ring by somebody from China, and they're trying to say that it was a gift of monetary value, and it was undeclared in his taxes, for example.
Okay.
Lock him up. I don't care, bro. I don't care if he is his president's son. Lock him up if he broke the law, especially if he's not paying taxes. But
Rob hit him with it.
Hey, go to jail, bro.
Go to jail, bro.
The COVID-19 vaccine, they said, will stay good for 1 year if it's in the fridge. So Pfizer is telling me they already had a vaccine years ago when they could do all this testing and tell us it will last a year. Kind of crazy if you ask me. Was COVID-19 planned? There's been a vaccine in the works for a couple years on a COVID SARS virus to begin with, because this is just a different strain than something that's already existed for years.
Different COVIDs.
Yeah. So this is just a built on. It's like a kit car. It's already built on the chassis of another vaccine. Yep. But shit, it's I'll get the vaccine. I'll get the mRNA vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it was man-made because it's so uncontrollable.
Yeah.
Like if China released it, I mean they fucked themselves up just as much as anybody else. And so it doesn't strike me as weaponized. It's just too random. It might have been some dumb shit they were playing with. I'm not saying it came out of bat, but it wasn't released intentionally.
But I think China also has the manpower, literally, to be able to afford to lose, 200,000 people. It's nothing to them.
Who knows how could you say it would stop there? They could have lost 200 million.
Yep.
Yeah, they could have.
The thing about coronavirus,
if this was the big plan to cripple us, you've only killed 300,000 of us, dude. You better release some more viruses, because this one ain't gonna do it. It's gonna fuck us up a little.
Yeah.
But I mean, we still got plenty of guys to operate drones.
Yeah.
I would say
a bunch of video game playing people.
Yeah. Right. I would say the thing about the vaccine specifically, if you look at the vaccine length, it's been one of the fastest vaccines production that we've ever seen. But to Rob's point, we've also had the best and the brightest minds all over the world working on this.
Yes.
It's not just like, this vaccine came out, Pfizer or Bill Gates or whatever, or Elon Musk, like Oxford University in England was the one who had this giant breakthrough. And to talk about, the coronavirus vaccine specifically, the guy who sequence
the genome, it usually happens really quickly.
Yeah.
So exactly. once they sequenced the genome, I think it was like 9 hours that they had a testable vaccine.
Well, it took a while because China wasn't going to turn over the samples of the virus that they had already sequenced themselves. They actually destroyed the original ones. But the the guy who the family. There's some shit.
What do you say? I can't read it.
Read some shit. Joe Smo say he read some shit about China manipulating the weather. Crazy over there.
Yeah, I've read that too. So the idea, so the couple that helped crack that led the project for Oxford University to release this vaccine is actually the guy is an immigrant from Turkey, and the woman is I believe German. So immigrants get shit done, but I think it'd be ridiculous, in my personal opinion, that this vaccine would be unsafe when people can say like, well, Bill Gates why is he trying to microchip me? But like Bill Gates has nothing to do with Oxford. Like he didn't bring this Turkish guy from Turkey to Germany and then to Oxford.
It's all set up, man.
Hey, listen, I don't want to spend too much time talking about no Bill Gates type shit right now, but I will say this. Anybody that thinks he has to microchip a fucking vaccine to get your data when you have a cell phone in your hand right the fuck now,
yep,
is not living in reality, bro. They've had your data for years. They can track you all over the place. It's in your hand. It's in my hand. I'm talking to you on it. Bill Gates probably watching this.
Yep.
Trying to figure out how to.
Yeah. Bill Gates is definitely watching us.
Yeah. So that's
Hi, Bill.
what that is.
Can I get a grant?
Actually, now that you mentioned that, Tony Hawk is in Chicago right now, so I'm meet up with him a little bit later. But
very casual name drop. Me and Tony go way back.
We do go way back.
Do we want to do the Florida thing before we sign off? We got
we have to. We have to.
Go, man. Have at it, Ed.
Kick that
door down.
Kick the door down.
What we know.
The door was kicked down. So a woman who used to be leading the dashboard or the reporting data of the Florida Health and Human Services, from Florida Department of Health, was fired
after she would not fudge the numbers.
Right. Rebecca Jones is a former state data scientist for Florida who was in charge of the dashboard and the reporting of coronavirus cases.
And you know what data scientist means? That means she was really smart.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's kind of a whistleblower ever since.
Yeah, so she refused to fudge the numbers and was fired by Governor DeSantis, who's also a huge piece of shit, and he's very much a Trump person. He's a little less crazy, but he, in my opinion, would be my candidate for forerunner of the Republican Party 2024.
Okay.
But
that's not cool, but whatever.
That made me throw up fucking in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
He had a little bile come up his esophagus.
That's acid reflux, man. You gotta Pepto-Bismol. So she was fired, and she basically created a website and a dashboard to recreate the COVID data that she had. And obviously, like when you're a data scientist and you're pulling from public sources and you get fired, you can go back to those same public sources and recreate your data. Yeah. So she was showing that the infection rates were higher, people were dying at higher rates than what the state was reporting. So the other day she was raided by law enforcement, stating that she was hacking the health system, that she was using the state emergency warning system without authorization, all of this stuff.
Hey, now here's the plot twist on that. Everybody who works in that division, it's one username and one password to log into it.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what, there you go.
Yeah.
So there's no verifiable log information that would support this, but that's beside the point because it's not about proving your case. It's about intimidation and retaliation. So the interesting thing about this case is that the judge who approved this search warrant has never been a I wouldn't say prosecutor. He's never worked in the criminal division of the Florida Department of Justice. He's always worked in the civil division. And one of the first things he did was to sign a warrant that accused her of doing these things and authorizing the police to go and kick her door in and literally point guns at her children.
What? Only in Florida.
Only
right?
in Florida.
Well,
So
they got the stand your ground law, so of course they're going to come in with their guns out. Because who knows what you're walking into, bro? Everyone's got so many guns down there.
And I actually have my gun down here with me.
Exactly.
They honor my gun license from my state. So it did take a little while longer to check in at O'Hare because I'd actually go up to the counter. I couldn't like self bag drop because I had to put like a little sticker tag on my lockbox. It had to be a lockbox, and I had to be the only person with the key. And then I had to wait for TSA to put it through the little metal detector or the little scanner so they could make sure the gun wasn't loaded. And then I was okay to go upon my way.
Yeah.
And here I am in Florida with my gun.
CNN is reporting right now that the judge who approved the raid was appointed by DeSantis.
Yeah.
As well.
There you go.
So yeah, there's definitely it reeks of abuse. I don't know.
When and why did Illinois change the case counts from confirmed cases to confirmed and probable? That's Joe Schmo.
Why can't you ever talk about what we're talking about, Joe?
I know
I don't even know nothing
curveball.
about that. I don't know if you just looked at some Fox News chart that sent you off, or
Brandon Thomas, Rob, Eddie, and Rich. Great conversation night. I learned a few things. Rich, bitches are loving the salt and pepper beards. I'm in an ill state of mind. I'm out of these. Thanks for tuning in, Brandon.
It was a pleasure.
So
come back.
Welcome back. Come back soon. So November 11th was when that change was made. There's actually, so it's a question of technology and like science. There's, what do you call it? So there is a criteria that you have to meet that a case is confirmed via a molecular test, which is basically genetic sequencing to confirm that you have the virus inside of you, which most people don't get. They get a probable test, which means that it is both you've been tested and it meets the clinical criteria as well as being what's called epidemiologically linked, which means that you have a positive test of coronavirus antigens in your body, which is the antibodies. So people, just because you get tested for coronavirus and you're negative does not mean you never had it. So if you
because the antibodies don't last forever.
They don't last forever, but not everybody knows that they're sick because most people are asymptomatic. So that's dangerous because if you don't think you're sick and you're walking around and you're infecting other people, you're going to get people killed. But you can be asymptomatic and have had coronavirus. You go get tested and you find out that you had it because you had a antibodies in your body that reflect that you had coronavirus. That's a probable case versus a confirmed case where somebody had it at that moment.
Okay.
So that's the difference between those two, and that change was made in the reporting data in mid-November. But that's basically what they're getting at, is that there are multiple ways to suss out the level of infection rate currently, but also historically in the state or any region that you're trying to get data from.
Yeah, makes sense. But there you go, because Eddie knows everything, as everybody that regularly knows.
Hold on. Let's talk about this. Marty Sandoval, FBI informant, died from coronavirus this week.
Oh, shit.
And not only did he die from coronavirus, he is the one who turned on Ed Burke and got him indicted. So that's pretty interesting.
Wow.
Some Chicago politic news for you. He was, as I mentioned, he was my old alderman in my old neighborhood. So it's pretty interesting to see him turn for the feds. We never liked him. But yeah, things keep happening in Chicago. People keep getting indicted, and I'm surprised they didn't come for Mike Madigan and indict him before the election, because I think Trump would have loved that. But they're coming for him. That's for sure.
Hey, you fucked up. You gotta get what you, consequences and repercussions. Go to jail, bro.
Lock them all up.
Lock them all up. Go to jail, bro.
Yep. So I think that we'll see some more movement in the Chicago political landscape shortly. Probably at the end of spring session, 2021. That's your
There's something going
on. Okay. I don't know what that was, and Rich is muted. Yeah, you're muted. There you go.
How about now? Okay.
Yeah.
So there was one other thing that we actually totally biffed on that I'd like to discuss a little bit. Casey Goodson Jr. That name ringing any bells to you?
No.
He got shot in the back by the police in Ohio. They said he had a gun in his hand, and it was a fucking Subway sandwich.
Yeah. Yep.
They're investigating the cop, so we'll see. Hopefully, there's some justice there. But man, right in front of his family, some kids outside.
A Subway sandwich.
It sounds real bogus.
Look,
they said he drove past the cops waving a gun, but then he had a sandwich in his hand, and I'm guessing that they searched his car and his body and did not find a gun.
No. That's complete horseshit. I've dealt with enough cops. I got pulled over one time because literally we're driving through the intersection, and I looked and I made eye contact with this cop, and they pulled us over. And they pulled us over because they said I did not have my seatbelt on. Like under Illinois state law, the click it and ticket system, like only the driver is responsible for having, like, can be pulled over for not following that law.
Yeah.
If you were pulled over and then you're discovered to not have your seatbelt on, then the passengers can be ticketed as well. But under state law, only the driver is responsible for that. Yeah. Only the driver can be pulled over for that, if that's the only violation. And so they pulled us over, and they're like, "Well, you didn't have your seatbelt on." And I was like, "Bro, I got my seatbelt on." It's a pretext. It's always a pretext.
Regardless, they shot this dude in the back in his front yard with a Subway sandwich in his hand. And I'm guessing if he had a gun on him, that they would have said so already.
Oh yeah, they would have showed us the gun.
Yeah.
So that's ridiculous. I can't. I did want to go, not necessarily in that angle, but I did want to talk something that we skipped earlier as well. In California, the new Attorney General of California has massively reworked the criminal justice system. No more cash bail. They are going to expunge all marijuana convictions. They are going to. They've lowered. People are not going to be allowed to be arrested for jaywalking or being drunk in public.
Jaywalking.
There are. Let's see, what else did he do? Attorney General. Xavier Becerra.
Yeah. Kind of weird. He got the HHS job, but he went hard for Obamacare, defending it in court. So I guess that's something.
Something.
Yeah.
So I think I'm trying to figure out what else he did. But there have been massive changes in California, the legal system of California, and it being the most populous country in state in America. I think it bears noting that massive changes have come down the pipeline.
And traditionally, on a social level, they're usually ahead of the country. They're kind of the trendsetter.
Yep. They legalized gay marriage before anyone else did.
Yeah, marijuana.
So
and a lot of different things they kind of do first.
I think that it's interesting because we always complain when politicians don't do what they say they're going to do. And this guy came out here and signed the paperwork within 3 hours for getting sworn in. So I think that's you should give him a shout out.
I'm with it.
Hey,
I'm with
shout
giving
out.
the dude a chance. Shout out to Javier Becerra.
Bang, bang.
What up, dog? Big gang.
So yeah, he did go hard for Obamacare. Also, we should talk about real quick. The federal judges last week have ordered the Trump administration to fully reinstate the DACA program.
Yes.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to do shit. They're on their way out.
Do shit, but
they
were told to, so that's the important part.
The DACA program has been upheld as a legally valid program now because of Trump's. They said that Trump had the legal authority to dismantle the program, but the way he did it was was illegal, and therefore he had to reinstate it. So Trump's inability to govern has actually created a space for Joe Biden to just continue. He doesn't have to continue the DACA program. He can just reinstate it. He can just expand it or do some other immigration reform because he doesn't have to have the fight anymore because the federal judge said that Trump has to reinstate it because he's an idiot.
And Joe Biden also has a whole immigration package he's ready to roll out, but it all depends on what happens with the Senate.
Joe says we should give them all citizenship.
All the immigrants?
Hey.
I mean,
I agree.
Okay.
What, in a DACA program? Sure, why not?
I think there should be a path to citizenship. And a lot of people say, well, you can't have ever been in trouble. Like, I don't agree with that. There's plenty of people who are American citizens who can vote and stuff, who've had felonies and done all sorts of shit.
Exactly.
I support a path to citizenship in the sense that I think, okay, you're already here illegally. Like, there is not, that is not inconsequential either.
You can't say they're criminals because they cross the border illegally.
No.
That's the problem. It makes them all criminals.
No.
And that was always the right's logic. They're all criminals because they committed the crime of crossing the border illegally. Well, that's a little paradoxical.
Yeah. And I don't really believe in illegal human beings or borders much myself. But the idea that, you've been in the country for 10 years. You know you're here illegally. Like, whether or not, it's fair to say, oh, you're an illegal. I think that, like, there is definitely a recognition, again, among immigrants that they know that they're not here, quote unquote, the right way, but that's what they're willing to do because they want to be here that badly. So I don't think that, like, we should just, like, automatically be like, well, yeah, you're a citizen now. I think we should have a program of saying, like, hey, where have you been working? What tax ID have you been using? Where did you get that tax ID? Why does your employer let you use fake documents?
Yeah, but they don't want to clamp down on the businesses that fucking employ all these things. And here's another immigration related thing that happened in the last week or two. The Trump administration doubled the amount of questions you have to get right on the immigration test. It's now 12 of 20 instead of 6 of 10, and they made the questions a lot more difficult. And it's like, bro, if you want to do that, that's fine. But there's statistics out there, 1 in 4 Americans could actually fucking pass that thing.
I mean,
so it's like, how are you going to demand this of them?
Because why
people
would
that live here
they be able to
don't
pass
even
it?
know this?
Or why
shit.
would they? I should say.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever sat down and looked at what the quote unquote literary exams that you had to pass if you were a free slave to be able to vote. Bro, they're hard as shit.
Yeah.
They're hard as shit. I have a college education. I didn't understand half of the questions, much less know how to answer them. But I do think that there should be a path to citizenship that at least I wouldn't say debrief or whatever, but I think that we need to have a sense of who these people are and where they have been living and what they've been doing with their lives. And I'm not saying that to lock people up. I'm just saying look, if you for example, as Joe said, if you have a kid that's been here since they were 2 and is not a citizen, then I need to know that so I can hook them up with citizenship too. I can't just give their parents citizenship and leave them hanging. So there has to be some accounting of what is happening, who these people are, and what they're doing in America and how long they've been here. But that's, I think, different than just literally throwing them in ice boxes on the border of Mexico and just leaving them there and then deporting them.
I just want a fair system, man. Like, everybody can't get in necessarily. That's just going to be the case. But if you just give everybody, let's get enough judges in there. Let's get enough advocates. Let's fund the whole thing, fucking, and give people a nice, smooth, cost-efficient process, because it's expensive to become a citizen. It takes a long time, and it costs a lot of money.
Well, my parents got in because of the Reagan amnesty, so it was pretty much free for them. I think they paid some fine or whatever, but I think that the idea that these people can go back to where they came from, like, no, they can't. You understand that? Like, I have never gone. I have never walked across the desert of America to over the border, thousands of miles, risking rape and beheading by cartels and kidnapping. All sorts of horrors that just to come here and commit tax fraud or to steal a car. Like, that's not why these people are coming. And at the end of the day, when we talk about illegal immigration, the majority of people who are here illegally are people who have overstayed their visas. We know who they are. We know where they are. Go get them. If you're that worried about illegal immigration, it's not about that. It's about racism.
Yeah, well, it's a political wedge.
Disguised as patriotism.
Fuss about. Look at how Trump whipped everyone up into a frenzy over the brown menace, the caravans. Mm-hmm. I guess the racism is the root of that.
Whatever came of that shit, nothing.
Yep.
Or at least fear of another race, if not hatred of it.
Yeah. I think that Donald Trump is going to continue pointing to and trying to recreate this vision of the 1950s America that he grew up in and his father grew up in, that is completely unrealistic to what America actually is
today. Yeah. Well, at least he don't have 4 more years to do it. I mean, we'll see if he makes it to 2024 again, but at least we can kind of undo some of the shit and move forward.
43 days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey guys, my phone's about to die, so I'm gonna call.
Yep. That's about wraps it up. Thank you for tuning in to episode 12 of White Devils. We'll be back next week at 5 o'clock Central Standard Time in the studio. Tune in Sunday night to Sunday dinner on the Villain Net Radio Network. We'll probably be going live around 7 p.m. next week.
Share, subscribe.
Joseph, stay careful. We'll be here.
Like, share, subscribe. Go to YouTube. Search Villain Radio Network, all in one word. Click the little link. Yes,
Rob, you better check them Cubans out there, bro. They voted against socialism and almost ushered in fucking Fidel Castro again. the fat orange Fidel Castro. You better tell them motherfuckers to chill out. Play them our podcast.
About to be going to eat.
Go to a Cuban joint. Go to a Cuban joint. Go talk to them. Lil Havana.
But upcoming things here on Villain Radio, no Friday Night Live this week because, of course, I'm in Miami. But it's all work and no play. While I'm out here, I'm shooting music videos for Critical's new album 11 and some for Fort Lauderdale, another forthcoming album. Like I said, tune in Sunday night to Sunday dinner with me, Syndrome, Indy, and Trail 90P. The following week on December 18th, we will be back for Saturday Night Live, featuring none other than G. Scott. So tune in, 8 o'clock, co-hosted by Keisha Cautious. And like I said, we'll be back next Wednesday, back in the studio at Villain Radio. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This has been great. Another great episode, another fun time talking shit to you guys, shooting the shit at Alicia, as I should say. Next week, 5 o'clock. RobVillain.com or on YouTube, White Devils.